Hey yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Ben from the Fantasy Chairman, and welcome to the Quick Hit Start Sits episode of the Fantasy Chairman podcast. Going to be trying to bring this to you every week on Saturday going into Sunday. Just a quick little episode with some popular start sit questions that we either receive or we see out there on the Twitter sphere. And so we've collected quite a few of those, and just for about 10 minutes here, I'm going to run through and give you my thoughts on who you should be starting and who you should be sitting on that week of the NFL. It is currently week 2, and we had the Thursday night game go off between the Washington football team and the New York Giants, and we've got a pretty hefty slate on the books coming into Sunday with the Bengals taking on the Bears, Texans going against the Browns, Rams against the Colts, the Broncos against the Jaguars, Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins, Patriots against the Jets, 49ers taking on the Eagles, Raiders against the Steelers, Vikings against Cardinals, Falcons going up against the Buccaneers, Cowboys against the Chargers, and that was our jackpot matchup of the week if you listened to our Wednesday episode. Titans against the Seahawks, Chiefs taking on the Ravens, and then the Lions against the Green Bay Packers on Monday night. So that is the lineup for this Sunday and Monday, and we've got a lot of good start-sit questions going into Sunday morning. So I'm going to start off first with the running back position here, and there is a lot of questions about the running back from the Jacksonville Jaguars, James Robinson, right now. When Travis Etienne went down with a Lisfranc injury, it seemed like everybody was really hyped for James Robinson. A lot of people were putting him up into the top 15 for running backs, saying, well, you know, who's going to take the job from him now? Travis Etienne's gone, their first round rookie running back that they picked, and nobody is going to take the job from him. He's got Carlos Hyde behind him. He's not going to take all of his work. But then week 1 happened, and Urban Meyer happened, and James Robinson did not get near the workload everybody was thinking he was going to get. I believe last year he saw like a minimum 85% of the running back snaps while he was playing. And this last week, I think he was just over 50. I can't remember exactly, but it was like just over 50% of the snaps. He outsnapped Carlos Hyde, but Carlos Hyde actually had more carries than he did. And he was a little bit involved in the passing game, but it was just highly disappointing, especially going up against the Houston Texans, who's everybody's pegged as the worst team in the NFL this season. And they just ran roughshod all over the Jacksonville Jaguars. So a lot of people have questions about James Robinson right now, and he flew up draft boards before the start of the season. So I'm going to jump in. We've got quite a few with James Robinson involved, and I'm just going to give my quick thoughts on who you should start or sit with these James Robinson questions. So one really popular one we've been hearing is James Robinson or Jamal Williams. So you likely got Jamal Williams a lot later in drafts, James Robinson earlier. And in this question right here, I'm going to go with Jamal Williams. James Robinson, let's remember, he's going up against the Denver Broncos this weekend, and take my fandom bias aside, the Denver Broncos defense is stellar and held Saquon Barkley in check last week. We know he didn't get a full workload, and that Giants O-line is terrible. But do we really have much more faith in the Jaguars going up against Denver? I do not. We saw Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift both get over 20% of the passes thrown to them there with the Lions. It was all between TJ Hawkinson, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift. It was basically, that's all Jared Goff was targeting. So I'm going to go with Jamal Williams over James Robinson in this one. And then in the same matchup, we've been seeing a lot of James Robinson or Javonte Williams. And right here, I'm going to go with Javonte Williams because I think the Denver Broncos are going to do probably even worse than what the Texans did to the Jaguars last week, and I think they're just going to dominate. And I think both Melvin Gordon, and actually you could include Melvin Gordon on this too. I would start both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams over James Robinson here. And we've got James Robinson or either one of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. And this is one where I am going to pick James Robinson. I just don't trust anything with the backfield there in the Buccaneers. It's a lot like what the old New England Patriots running backs were when you just never knew which one to start. Arians came out and said Ronald Jones is going to be the starter again this week. But as soon as he misses a pass block, if he fumbles again, he's going to be out of the game. The same can be said for Leonard Fournette. Then you got Giovanni Bernard, who's the third down back there. I'm going to stick with James Robinson in this one, but really, I'm not going to feel good about any of them. Another one here, we've got James Robinson or Elijah Mitchell, who we just saw go off for the 49ers last week after Raheem Mostert went down. Rookie Elijah Mitchell, who was drafted 3 rounds behind Trey Sermon. Not exactly sure what Shanahanigans is going to be pulling here, but I'm gonna keep riding the flames of Elijah Mitchell, and I'm going to start him over James Robinson. Then we've got James Robinson or Tyson Williams. I'm going Tyson Williams in that one, even though they said they're going to be rotating running backs there in Baltimore. Tyson Williams looked really good last week. Staying in the flames, riding with that. And then last one for James Robinson, we've got James Robinson versus Nahim Hines. And I'm going with Nahim Hines over James Robinson here. This is kind of like what we saw for Jamal Williams. Heavy workload in the passing game for both the running backs there in Indianapolis. And I believe we're going to see that trend continue. And I'm just going to ride the back of receptions for Nahim Hines against James Robinson in this one. So that'll do it for the James Robinson questions that I had out there, and that's taken up a lot of the start sits this week. So we'll move on into a few other start sits that we saw out on the Twitterverse. Okay, some popular wide receiver start sit questions. We've got a lot with Chase Claypool involved, several with Corey Davis, and several with Debo Samuel. And right here, I'm going to jump into Debo Samuel first with the 49ers going up against the Eagles. The Eagles actually looked pretty darn solid this last week. Of course, they did go up against the Atlanta Falcons, who looked miserable. So this could be a little bit more of a test for them here. But Debo, we saw go off in week 1. And we just know that's who he is when he's healthy. He's the man, the absolute man there in San Francisco. So we've got Debo Samuel against Antonio Brown, who looked really solid in week 1. Picked up right where he left off towards the end of last season, that connection with Brady. In this one, Antonio Brown or Debo Samuel, I'm going to continue to ride the flames at Debo here. I think what we saw from Debo in week 1 was the truth. I think Antonio Brown, we're going to see a little bit more fluctuation in his game. But I do like Antonio Brown as well. So if you're able to start both of them, I would actually feel comfortable starting both of them. I'm doing that in one of my leagues, and I would feel good about that. But if you have to choose one over the other, I'm going to go with Debo on that one. And then the other one with Debo Samuel here, we've got Debo Samuel or DJ Moore. And DJ Moore and the Carolina Panthers are going up against the New Orleans Saints, who we just saw. I don't know what was going on with the Packers, but we just saw them completely annihilate the Packers there. Aaron Rodgers was hardly able to do anything. They held Devante Adams in check. In this one, I'm definitely going Debo Samuel over DJ Moore. And I like DJ Moore. I think he's going to get heavily targeted in this one. And this is another case of if you can start both of them, I would probably be okay with that. But if you're going to choose one over the other, I'm going to go Debo Samuel over DJ Moore. Then there's another question down there that says DJ Moore or Antonio Brown. In that case, I'm going to go Antonio Brown over DJ Moore. So in order of all those, I'd start Debo first, followed by Antonio Brown, and then DJ Moore last out of those three. We're seeing a lot of Chase Claypool involved in some start-sit questions. We saw the awful O-line of the Pittsburgh Steelers just not giving Najee Harris any room whatsoever. Ben Roethlisberger didn't necessarily look very good. He got a lot of passes off. We saw quite a few targets going to all three of the receivers there, Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool. So there's a lot of questions with Claypool involved, and one of those is, should I start Corey Davis or Chase Claypool this week? And in this one, I'm gonna go with Chase Claypool. I'm gonna say start Chase Claypool over Corey Davis. I don't trust Corey Davis to replicate what he did last week. We saw what happened after Mekhi Becton went down for the Jets, and Zach Wilson was having to run for his life. We did see Corey Davis come out with some fireworks and getting a touchdown there, heavily targeted. But going up against the New England Patriots, we know Bill Belichick likes to shut down your best player, and he knows that Corey Davis is Zach Wilson's go-to guy. So he's going to do everything he can this week to scheme Corey Davis out of the game. I think the Steelers going up against the Raiders is a much, much better matchup. And we know what Claypool can do when he gets the ball in his hands. I'm going to go with the upside of Chase Claypool against the Raiders in this one, and I'm not expecting much from Corey Davis. Another one is Devante Smith against Chase Claypool. So rookie Devante Smith, who we saw come out just firing last week with the Eagles against the Falcons, and going up against a tougher defense in the 49ers. But we saw the 49ers kind of have a meltdown against the Detroit Lions there at the end of the game, and I don't think their secondary is as daunting as what it used to be, and we did just see their best cornerback go down with injury as well. So I'm going to stick with Devante Smith in this one. I think Jalen Hurts has his guy. Devante Smith is the number one there, and Chase Claypool is not the number one for the Steelers. And they've got a terrible O-line. I think Claypool has the opportunity to put up some big numbers there just because of his talent. But I think you're going to have the better floor with Devante Smith as well as the upside that Chase Claypool could give you. So I'd rather take the floor plus the upside rather than just the upside and the really low floor of Chase Claypool. So start Devante Smith over Chase Claypool. All right, a couple quick quarterback start-sit questions before I get out of here. This episode's going to be a little bit longer just because it is the first quick hit start-sits episode that we're doing. And I just wanted to explain how this was going to work at the top of the episode. So two start-sit questions for quarterbacks here, and then we'll get out of here before the Sunday morning games kick off. And the first one that I'm looking at is, should I start Ryan Tannehill or Ben Roethlisberger this week? Ryan Tannehill or Ben Roethlisberger? And on this one, I'm just going to tell you, Tannehill was not good last week. The Tennessee Titans just got embarrassed by the Arizona Cardinals. And, Chandler Jones ate Tannehill's face 5 times. And I don't expect to see that this week. They're playing the Seattle Seahawks in the afternoon. And the Seahawks defense is not near as good as the Arizona Cardinals. They don't have a Chandler Jones on their defensive line. And the Tennessee Titans, we saw how terrible their defense is. So Russ and company from the Seahawks are going to eat. And I think Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, they're going to have to try and keep up with the Seahawks. So Tannehill is going to be slinging the rock. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a connection with him and Julio Jones in this one. I think he's going to have a little bit more time to throw the ball, and Derrick Henry is going to be able to establish himself. Hopefully we see more of the play action get called there in Tennessee this week, because that's where Tannehill really thrives. But in this one, I'm going to go with Tannehill over Roethlisberger, and that's mainly because I think he has the higher floor. This is similar to the Chase Claypool or Devante Smith question that we just had. I think Tannehill has the higher floor, but he also has just as high a ceiling, if not higher, than Roethlisberger. So with Roethlisberger, you've got the basement level floor with the sky high ceiling. With Tannehill, you've at least got that ground level floor with the sky high ceiling. So I'm going to go with Tannehill in this one. I think we're going to see a bounce back performance from him and the Titans. And that game could be a sneaky shootout there in Seattle. The next quarterback question that has been pretty common is Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield. And in this one, I'm going to stick with the second-year stud in Joe Burrow. We saw him last week, and the Bengals looking pretty darn good. It looked like Burrow was comfortable again coming off that knee injury, and he's worked out some of those mental hurdles that he was having to get over in the preseason, and he quickly established his connection with Jamar Chase. And I just think that we're going to see Burrow having to throw the ball a little bit more. The Chicago Bears defense doesn't necessarily scare me. They're just kind of middle of the road now, it seems, especially in the secondary. They're not great. So I think we're going to see a higher ceiling from Burrow in this one, and I think it's going to be a much closer game. Whereas you have Baker Mayfield taking on the Houston Texans, which sounds fantastic. And Baker did look good against the Chiefs last week, but I don't think they're going to need to use Baker as much. I think we're going to see him moving the ball well. He's going to do a good job of passing, getting them down the field. But we've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt there, and the running backs were accountable for the 4 touchdowns that the Browns scored last week. So I think we'll see more of that again. I think the Browns are probably going to get up early in this game, and then all they're going to have to do is just run with Baker just passing a little bit more infrequently. So in that one, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield over Joe Burrow, and I'm going to start that with confidence there, and that'll do it. That is the first quick hit start sits there. We had a lot of James Robinson questions, so just kind of tried to blow through those ones. I know in several leagues, I'm trying to decide who I want to start, James Robinson or somebody else. And so hopefully I answered some of these questions for you, or hopefully I gave you the confidence to start a few of these other players over whoever you're questioning there. And you can go out and you can win all of your fantasy matchups this Sunday. Again, I am Ben with the Fantasy Chairman, and you can find us on Twitter at Chairman Fantasy, at FindFFLeagues, and at Fantasy Squatch. Our website is www.fantasychairman.com, and I hope you all have a great Sunday. Hey, Alex.
What?
So when you're on a boat and you're on like a rocky ocean, and you're drifting out to sea, what's the best way to keep your boat like sturdy and just staying still?
Oars?
No, not even close. You throw out your anchor.
Oh, your anchor. Oh,
yep,
okay.
You throw out your anchor. You know what I like to do to keep my podcast steady and just sturdy while everything else seems to be rocky and wavy around me?
Not oars, right?
Not oars. It's Anchor again.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Anchor.fm. Let me explain. This app is free, completely free to host your podcast on.
Like 100% free?
100% free. And you get unlimited storage for all your episodes.
Unlimited?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
As Russell Wilson would say.
Yes.
That's right. It's also got creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer.
Well, I'm all about that.
I know. And it also distributes your podcast for you, so it can be heard on the likes of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of them.
What's not to like?
It's great. You can even make money from your podcast, Alex.
And we're all about that.
And you don't need minimum listenership. So,
that's good.
That's a real good thing. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. You need to download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
I'm getting right on it right now.
Keep your boat and your podcast sturdy.